The Tata Safari, it needs no introduction. It is a popular name among SUV enthusiasts in the country. But how is it to live with on a daily basis? Well, we have spent 3 months living with the Safari, and here are the things that we liked about it and things we didn't during its stay with autoX. Now, the first thing that I love about the Safari, this is the diesel automatic version, and I absolutely love this drivetrain. It is a 2-liter diesel engine, very familiar unit. It is sourced from Fiat. It produces 168 bhp and 350 newton meters of torque, and that means it is quite efficient and it is seamless in terms of its power delivery. So it has a typical diesel behavior. You have a solid mid-range. It feels effortless everywhere. And if you're driving it daily in the city, well, I think it is one of the best diesel powertrains that you can buy in this segment. The transmission, it also complements the engine really well. Of course, you might say that it's slow, but it's the nature of this SUV. It feels relaxed, it feels seamless. Its job is to be effortless, and it's not meant for shattering speed records. So I think in that sense, it does a fairly good job. And on top of that, it's also quite efficient, because if you drive it leisurely in the city, you'll get close to 13 to 14 kilometers per liter very easily. For a SUV of this size, well, I think that is quite impressive. Next up is the ride and handling balance. And I'll start with the ride quality first, because the Safari, well, it has stellar ride quality, because you can go over any sort of road. It just gobbles it up. It's so absorbent. It just takes everything in its stride very comfortably. So I feel that is Safari's party piece, because it feels robust, it feels unbreakable. So I think that characteristic, well, it suits the Safari so well, and I think it is one of my favorite traits. At the same time, the handling is not compromised. It's not that it's soft and wallowy. Yes, it is a big SUV, but the steering has a good feel to it, and it has the right amount of heft and weight once the speed builds up. And even at triple digit speeds, it is quite comfortable. It is quite confident. So whether you're driving in the city or you're on a highway, or even when you're driving in the hills, I think this car has the perfect balance of all. The second row experience of the Safari is one of the main highlights for me, because I absolutely love this place. This gets these captain seats very comfortable. You have a lot of space, you have a lot of storage area around here. So it feels like a proper premium SUV. On top of that, you also get a lot of creature comforts. For example, you've got this blind, you've got a large panoramic sunroof. The seats are very cushy and comfortable. Of course, you can complain that the under-thigh support is not that great, but I think that is a very small niggle. And another great feature in here is that it gets seat ventilation at the back. And look here, it gets this boss seat function, so you can slide the seat forward, you can fold it as well, and it feels like a premium luxury car. So I think that is one of the nicest things that you can find in the Safari's cabin. On top of that, like I've already mentioned, the ride quality is phenomenal. So you've got this sort of space, you've got these AC vents on the pillar. Overall, it is a very nice place to be. Even the third row experience is not that bad. Of course, we have seen in this segment, if you have 3 rows of seat, the third row is the most compromised. But in the Safari, it somehow feels acceptable. Now you can see I'm sitting here. I've got decent space. Of course, I'm sitting with my knees pointing up, but the seat squab is quite comfortable. I have a fair bit of room for myself, and I think one more passenger can sit here very comfortably. On top of that, you also get USB Type A and USB Type C ports. You've also got a fan speed control over here, and it is quite airy. There is a fair bit of headroom as well. So not saying that it's the most comfortable place out there, but if you look at it from the segment's perspective, I think this is the best third row experience that you can get in this price bracket for sure. The other thing is you have got these AC vents over here. So these are also quite effective. And yes, the third row of seats may not be suitable for grown-ups or adults, but I think kids can sit here comfortably without complaining much. The Safari is loaded to the gills with features. So when you sit here, especially in this top-end variant, you'll find all the bells and whistles that you'd want in an SUV of this kind. Now, everything feels premium, everything feels rich, and there are a lot of creature comforts. I have to start with the touchscreen. This is a 12.3-inch infotainment system. Very crisp, very easy to use, very intuitive, and I think it is one of the best screens in this segment. And coming back to the features, well, it also gets level 2 ADAS, and we've tested it recently, and I think it is one of the more consistent systems out there. The other thing is it also gets an electric parking brake now, which is not the case with the previous version. It is very easy to use, and the camera quality is also quite nice. It has got a 360-degree camera, so the quality, it is quite decent for sure. Again, that is in comparison to the segment where it competes in. Among other niceties, it also gets an electric tailgate, and it also gets electrically adjustable seats, and they also come with memory function. You also get seat ventilation at the front. So overall, this is a very nice place to be. Even this panoramic sunroof, it's great, and the ambient lighting at night, it also looks quite good. So overall, the cabin has this premium touch and feel, and I think in an SUV at this price point, you would want all of these features. So in that regard, Tata has equipped the Safari really well. And last but not least is the way the Safari looks, because it has got that proper off-road look, and it looks like a proper SUV. It has got that aggression, it has got that face that tells you you have to get out of its way. So when you're driving it daily, well, it has that commanding SUV aggression, and that's what I love about it. And not to mention, the proportions are also bang on, because it's big, it's burly, it has got these massive 19-inch wheels. So overall, I think the design also works in its favor, and of course, it is one of its biggest USPs. Okay, now it's time to tell you about things that we didn't particularly enjoy or like about the Safari. Now, first of all are the electronics, because they seem to have a mind of their own, and they are quite erratic for sure. So the last 3 months, we have noticed it multiple times that all of the systems, well, they sometimes function and they sometimes don't. For example, the ADAS system, it has got all the functionality. You have got lane keep assist, you've got lane change assist, you've got adaptive cruise control. But sometimes when you press the button, it just says the feature shall be available shortly. So I think it's due for a software update, but sometimes it works. That's something that I couldn't quite understand. But when it works really well. But given how inconsistent it is in terms of operation, well, I think that takes a bit of confidence away. Now, another thing that distracts you are these AC controls, which are on a touch panel. Now, this is also quite annoying because it doesn't have the tactile feel, and you have to go through different settings, and it distracts because you have to take your eyes off the road while you're controlling these. But thank God they've got physical controls for the temperature. So that's a great touch, but otherwise it is quite fidgety to use. And not to mention, it is finished in piano black. So there are a lot of surfaces in here which are finished in piano black. So they are a fingerprint magnet, and they also gather a lot of dust. Speaking of which, this light upholstery, it comes with white interior, very nice to look at in pictures, but when you live with it, it is really hard to maintain, especially if you have kids, if you have a family, you travel often. Well, you'll find a lot of stains on the seats, and that is quite difficult to maintain, like I said. And even if you get it dry cleaned, it'll cost you a lot of money. Another small but annoying thing here is this gear lever. Now, it is in drive right now, and if I have to shift, it is quite laggy. It's not really as responsive, and sometimes you're stuck in the same gear. So if you are in D mode, you're stuck in there, you think you have put reverse, but it's still stuck in neutral, so it doesn't go. And this is particularly annoying when you're parking in a tight spot or you're taking a 3-point turn, because you have to go back and forth often, and this really annoys you a lot. So I think they have to find a fix for this, because I've experienced this sort of lag in other cars as well, the Tiago, the Nexon as well. So I think they need to fix this, because it is a minor thing, but it really annoys you a lot. Another thing that might trouble you on a daily basis is the size of the Safari. Now, this is a big SUV, of course, but it is quite effortless to drive, actually. It has got light controls, and even the size, well, it sort of wraps around you. But there are some problems still. For example, this A-pillar, it is quite thick, and it creates a huge blind spot. So if you're driving in congested areas, well, this causes hindrance for sure. And I think you have to be extra careful, because objects or cars or bikes, they do get hidden behind this thick A-pillar, and you have to be really careful about that. And ultimately, I think there are two things that are missing in the Safari. Now, first is a petrol engine, although personally, I don't much care about it because I really love this diesel engine. I think it suits the character of the Safari.
City drive mode activated.
This is something that happened on its own. it just activated the city drive mode. So yeah, that's the thing that I was telling you about. Anyway, now coming back, yes, the diesel engine, I think it suits the character of the Safari really well. And another thing that I find missing is all-wheel drive. Now I know that a lot of customers don't opt for all-wheel drive, but I think this SUV genuinely deserves it because it feels like a traditional SUV. And I think if it had all-wheel drive, it would make it a proper SUV. Right now it's front-wheel drive, but I do wish it had all-wheel drive, at least as an option, because in the Safari, well, I think it would make a lot of sense. Now, even though the third row seat is quite impressive, getting in and out is not that practical because there is no tumble down feature with the Safari's second row. So you have to slide it and you have to fold it and then you have to get going. And I think it is a very tight space. So it's not very practical and it's not very convenient as well. And lastly, the boot space, which there's not a lot of, because with all three rows up, there's barely any space for your luggage. So if you're out on a long road trip, make sure you pack light or leave one of your least favorite family members behind, because then you can simply fold the third row of seats to make up for some room for your luggage. On the whole, we have had an eventful time with the Safari long term, and I think, yes, it's not all rainbows and sunshine with this car, but ultimately I think it gets all the fundamentals right. And for me, that drivetrain coupled with that stellar ride and handling balance, that's what makes the Safari an irresistible package. So ultimately, that's the word, fundamentals. If you care about the fundamentals of an SUV more than anything else, well, I think the Safari is a great option.